welcome or welcome back to the Night Sky Knitting Podcast. My name is Rachel. I am a knitter based out of Ottawa, Canada, and this channel is my chatty outlet to talk all things knitting with occasional guest appearances by other crafts, because I have a strong tendency towards hyperfixation and I desperately need a chatty outlet to talk all things knitting and occasionally other crafts. Today is Thursday, September 22nd. It's a gloomy day in a series of long, gloomy days, which honestly, it's nice. It's been very pleasantly autumnal, but it's not ideal for filming, so we're gonna make the best of some mediocre lighting because it's been a month since I last filmed a podcast. For a variety of reasons, it's been a busy time. And I think if I go much longer without filming one of these, I will be buried under the mass of knitting I have accumulated in that time to show you guys. So, welcome. I always try and do this at the beginning. My bust size is 34 inches, which is 86 centimeters. My under bust is about 30 inches. I'm 5'1.5". 5'1 3/4", like 156, 157 centimeters. And yeah, that's just kind of my shape and size. If that helps you conceptualize the size of a garment or the way that it fits when you're looking at it on screen, because I personally really struggle to do that when people are like, I knit this sweater in this size. And I'm like, cool. It means very little to me, unless I know what shape and size you are. So that's the dealio. I have a lot of knitting to show you, so I think we're just gonna jump right on in. But thanks for being here. It's really fun. Okay, so finished object number one is this. It is my Cargill Sweater by Rebecca of the Crochet Knitting Podcast. I am one of the testers. I knit the size 3 for, again, my 34-inch bust, and I knit it in Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color Dusty Rose, and then the Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Soft Rose, which, you know what, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just going to show you the sweater now. I'm going to stand up. It's rumpled because I have been wearing it a lot and tucking it in the front of my pants, but this is what it looks like. I knit it to 3/4 length sleeves because I don't like a sleeve that covers my wrist bone. I would like to be able to always see my watch and not have to pull up my sleeves in order to use my hands. As a short person, I have enough of that with store-bought sweaters, and it's knit in this all-over dip stitch pattern. I knit it exactly to pattern. I don't think I made a single modification, as this is a test, and also I just liked the look of the sweater and wanted to achieve as similar a garment to the sample as possible. And overall, I'm thrilled with this. I really like the neckline. I think it sits pretty perfectly so that it's not riding up onto my neck and it's not kind of a boat neck. I really like the drape of this. I love the subtle shape of the sleeve. I found the dip stitch pattern a lot of fun to knit once I got the hang of it. And I love the yarn and the color of it. And like I said, I finished this last week and I've been wearing it quite a bit. I think that this is a really great sweater pattern, and I'm quite impressed that this is Rebecca's first design. It's been great to be a tester. I normally don't test knit a lot because, well, for a variety of reasons, but one of them is I don't normally have excess yarn in my stash that I would have like on hand for a project. But the second that Rebecca showed this as a whip in one of her podcasts, I thought, oh, I would like that in fluffy pink, so maybe I'll test it, or if not, I'll knit it in fluffy pink yarn when it's released. And so I bought some fluffy pink yarn and then I tested it. So overall, it's been a very positive experience for me. Really enjoyed the group chat, and I'm trying to think if I have anything to say about this sweater, but I just really, really like it. I love this shoulder shape look. Sometimes I find that raglans give me like a lot of excess fabric in the armpit, which doesn't really bother me, but I think it's something I'm going to be mindful of and look to find a way to fix moving forward in other raglan sweaters I plan on. But the way that Rebecca did the shaping of the raglan, you kind of switch the rate of increases after a certain point, seems to have eliminated that issue, and I'm really happy with the yoke fit. A heads up if you decide to knit this, even though we all knit swatches, a lot of us had a moment where we tried on the body of the sweater before it had been blocked, and because it's mostly rib, it really like cinched in and it felt like a very form-fitted sweater, and it blocked out totally. It blocked out to a loose, happy, positive ease sweater that's not oversized. I feel very feminine in this. I feel very elegant in this. I think some testers are doing like short sleeved versions that kind of come just above the elbow, which I think will be a very fun like vintage blouse type thing. I've seen some that are doing an I-cord neck, which kind of leaves it looking a little bit more blousey and princessy almost with how the shape of the neck looks without the ribbing. And yeah, I can wholeheartedly recommend this. I think we've had some discussions in the group about whether or not this is appropriate to call a beginner garment or a beginner sweater. I found the beginning back of the neck shaping to be quite confusing. Not confusing. I had to pay attention to what I was doing, and it worked out totally fine, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of the feedback we've given has been incorporated into the new pattern, so hopefully it'll be more straightforward. But yeah, there's no waist shaping, there's no arm shaping, and so once you get that done and you have a handle on the dip stitch pattern, you're good to go. Yeah, I'm pretty thrilled. This is what I hoped it would be. It is. It's just really, really nice. And I have quite a bit of yarn left over. So because I'm short, and have a correspondingly short torso, not because I have long legs, it's just because I am overall short, and I knit it, I have also short arms, and then I knit the sleeves to be, again, short. I did not use even close to the recommended yardage, or the estimated yardage, for this garment. I thought I was playing a game of yarn chicken, and then I had quite a bit left over. But I have a full ball and then a teensy bit left of the fingering weight merino, and equivalent of just slightly less than this, because this is less meterage than this, but a corresponding amount of the mohair. I think these two colors together got me this, which is really nice. But I'm thinking, A, I really like knitting with this, and B, I love this color, and C, this is the softest mohair I've worked with, which is not to say a lot because I've only worked with 3, or no, that's not true, I've only worked with 2 and I have a third. And I'm thinking I might very soon cast on a hat, like a Better Now beanie, but without the picot edges, maybe a muscle burra, using these two to use them up, because I think this is pretty much the precise amount I would need for a hat. Oops. And it would go very nicely with all my gray and green and black coats and maybe stand out a little bit more in the winter, so I'm walking home in the dark. And also because I'm finding that if I have leftover yarn, even if I have ideas for it, I think, oh, this would make a really nice little ear warmer, or oh, this would be a really cute pair of socks, or any of those things. If I put it back in stash, if it goes back into the closet, it will not be used for a year plus. But if I cast on with my scraps pretty quickly, then I actually do the thing, because I very rarely, except for when I have like spring cleaning or nesting frenzies and think, no, if we got to do some stash busting, I rarely go to knit all those little scrappy projects. I'm always drawn towards a new pair of socks or a new sweater or something like that. And so I'm thinking I will probably cast on a hat, like a very plain, triple folded around the ears hat using this to make sure that it actually goes to a it takes the final form that it should and doesn't just sit in my closet. Also because I need hats. I have knit myself 2 hats. One of them is absolutely too small because I knit it a year or so ago when my hair was a lot shorter and I kind of forgot how big my hair is. And as soon as my hair started growing back in, it just slides off my head. And I'm gonna try doing an aggressive reblock, but I don't have very high hopes. And B, because the other hat I knit is a good autumn hat. It's not a good winter hat for Ottawa. It gets so bloody cold here. The way that the wind comes off the water sometimes, and I went through 5 Montreal winters and 5 Toronto winters. Like, I know how to deal with the cold, and even sometimes the wind in Ottawa just numbs my brain. So hats are important, and I would really like to have one going into the cold months, and I think that at a tight gauge, wool and mohair will be nice and warm. My one thing is, my forehead is by far the most sensitive part of my body to anything, and this is going to be too scratchy against my forehead, probably even in the extreme cold. Well, not if I go numb, but ideally with a hat you don't go numb. So I'm thinking I might, just for the part that is against my forehead, knit it with, like, drop the mohair strand and do it doubled with this because I have enough, which is what I did for the neckline here. As you can see, I hope you can see, you're losing that darker tone and the fluff in the neckline because I know that my neck is the second most sensitive part of my body. And with my other high neck mohair jumper, I do find myself kind of reaching up to scratch every so often. And I'm very happy with the fact that I did this. At the time, I still thought I was playing yarn chicken, so it saved me some of the mohair. And it's just a much more neutral sensation against my chest. I'm also wearing a very high neck finished object secretly underneath, which is pretty much eliminating any and all mohair sensitivity that I could be feeling right now. But back to the matter at hand. So I'm thinking either I do the same thing for a hat or coming back to the issue of extreme cold here in Ottawa, I'm thinking maybe I line the hat. That's part of the reason why I haven't knit myself mittens yet. I would love to knit myself a pair of colorwork mittens. However, they would need to be lined to be practical in this climate when I really, really need a mitten or a hat. And so my request to you guys, I'm very interested to hear whether or not you guys recommend sewing in a lining for a hand knit hat, any tips you might have for doing so, fabric recommendations, or how to sew something in when you're very scared of sewing and very bad at it. And yeah, I guess that's what I'm thinking I will do with this. I really love these colors together. I think it would make a nice hat. I think it would look really cute and classic. I just want to make sure that it fits my head and is practical. So that is what I'm thinking I'm going to do with this yarn. Cargill, I love it. It's just a really great sweater. It's so comfortable. I feel so relaxed and happy in this. And when it comes out in a couple weeks, I would recommend that you maybe knit it too. Next, okay, yeah, I have 2 more finished garments to show you. So yeah, we're gonna get onto those. Okay, my other 2 finished garments. The first is my field day jacket. I will wait for applause that I finally managed to finish this thing. I have been working on this since March, off and on, because it's just been too hot, but here it is. It's also rumpled from a lot of wear, and also when I'm not wearing it, it sits on the back of this chair so that I can always have it as immediately accessible as possible to grab and wear. I wear this around the house, which is unusual for me when it comes to woolly knits. I throw this on to go on walks, to go to the grocery store as a kind of transitional season jacket. Can you hear that wind? And I'm kind of thrilled. I'm really happy with the buttons. These are coconut buttons that I got from Yarns Untangled. And the sleeves have grown to exactly where I like my sleeves to be. And overall, this is the very versatile, functional beige cardigan I was looking for. It is a very relaxed, casual fit. I was originally hoping that this could be something I would wear to an office, but so far it's been more of a work from home office type garment and a casual girl on the go cardigan. That said, I'm still quite pleased. I'm trying to think, did I make any modifications? The modifications I made were in the sleeves for the most part. I decreased very, very subtly in the sleeve, and then I decreased every 4th stitch right before the ribbing, and then I actually went down a couple needle sizes for the ribbing because otherwise it was a very straight sleeve, and I figured wind would go straight through there and that would not be practical for me. And also, if I ever tried to get these sleeves into a coat, I imagine this is so warm with a coat on top, I think it would be too much, but you know, in case, I wanted to make sure that I made that as easy as possible for myself in the future. And I also knit it shorter. It's supposed to go like here to the top of your thigh past your butt. However, I chose to just start following the instructions for the bottom rib and the final buttonhole after finishing 2. I'm overall quite pleased with this modification, and I've worn it almost every day since finishing it, except for when we had another random heat wave. I will say I don't love the look of it buttoned up shape-wise on me. I feel like it looks just a little bit dowdy, this shape. I wanted it to have, actually, you know what? I don't know if that's true. If I go like this, maybe. But like this, I think it's fine. It's a cardigan. Like, who really is expecting more from me? But I absolutely love the look of it hanging open, and I'm thrilled with this kind of really neat finish detail on either side of the button band with the kind of sort of applied I-cord. I don't know. However, I wear it loosely on either side of myself quite a bit. I will notice when I'm at my desk and I'm doing that, totally fine, nothing's wrong. If I'm walking, as I am often doing to get around Ottawa, and I have it open, it starts to slide off my shoulders a bit, and I find myself hiking it back up again, and then it slides, and I'm hiking it back up again. So, don't know what I would do about that in the future. It's just a little wide up here. I knit this in functionally a small. My gauge was ever so slightly loose, but I loved the fabric and I didn't want to go down a needle size. I thought that would be too tough and too dense. So I knit kind of in between an extra small and a small the whole time to get something that fit me pretty well. I am quite pleased with this. I think this has won me over to Ozetta's pattern writing style. This is the Haley Smedley Ozetta Knitwear Field Day cardigan, if I didn't say so already. Field Day jacket. There is a DK Way cardigan version, but this is the jacket, which is in like an Aran. I knit this in Green Mountain Spinnery Weekend Wool in the color Fawn. Highly recommend. I posted some photos on my Instagram of what this looked like before and after blocking, and I think that the distinction is really quite magic. And overall, I feel like this is a cardigan that I will hopefully have for a very long time. It's just, I've been lucky with the knitting projects lately. I've been getting what I wanted. It seems that I have maybe hit a point in my knitting career, knitting journey, I don't know what you want to call it, in my time knitting, where I'm more accurately able to assess if things are going to work, adjust course if necessary, and pick garments that seem to fit very well with my life and how I want to wear them. And that's really nice. I really appreciate that we've gotten there. The third finished object is this Summer Secret crop top by Jessie May Designs that I knit in my leftover Trailhead yarn Appalachian Trail. That's the base. Trailhead Yarns is the company. Appalachian Trail or Appalachian Trail is the base. It's a 65% cotton, 35% nylon. You can see a little bit of that stretch going. And this is the color Unicorn Tears. I hope this is not scandalous. I knit this as an undergarment specifically. I knit it at a way smaller gauge, and I basically made up the stitch counts the whole time. I kind of used the pattern, which is free by the way, last time I checked, and will be linked down below along with everything else. As a guide, I kind of used the numbers between a medium and a large using a 3mm needle as opposed to the recommended, I think it's a 4 or 4.5mm needle, in order to get a more opaque fabric because this is a fingering weight yarn. And I wanted to use up all of it. And I was thinking, or my goal with this was to get a layering piece for under all of my crew and mock neck sweaters that when I get a little bit hot or I'm like rushing to catch the bus or something and then I sit down on the bus and then the sweat on my body touches the wool and then I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin, to kind of eliminate that from happening as much, because in a cold climate, layering is key to survival. You can't just, at least I can't just put on a wool sweater and be good to go. And so having a close fitted garment to my body in something that is completely neutral against my skin, like a cotton nylon blend, seemed very appealing. And I like this pattern because it's very fast, it's very easy, it's very straightforward. I think it's a very good beginner garment if anyone's in the market. And I just kind of followed, this is I think the third time I've knit it. It is the third time I've knit it. I have one other one that I wear all the time, and I knit one for a friend. And I just kind of made up the stitch counts to follow exactly this shape, because I've done it before, but the stitch counts are all off because I was working on a very different gauge. I'm very, very happy with the final result. It's a little bit too short in the torso. It's like, goes up to maybe 2 or 3 inches above my belly button, which is a little bit long. I mean, with these leggings, you can't, it kind of works, but not really. But I really wanted this as a sort of, not quite bralette because it's not offering any support, but something that would protect the most sensitive part of my torso from wool and mohair, because my shoulders, I mean, this is a very woolly wool that I would not wear next to skin here, but because this is protected, everything is fine. And I've been wearing it with the Cargill locks. I finished them around the same time. Perfect. It's a very winning combination in my opinion. And I'm very happy I went ahead and did this. And this is another example of, if I use the leftover yarn immediately after finishing the project that I originally got that yarn for, I do it and it's fine and it's done. If not, then it just sits in stash, forgotten about. So that sucks. So very happy with this. I think this would be a very practical thing for me to knit again. I just need to remember roughly what kind of stitch counts I went with, because it keeps my armpits free, which is good for airflow, circulation, not getting sweaty. It keeps my torso insulated, which is good for cold days. And it keeps the sensitive skin and neck part of my body protected from irritants, which is really, really nice to make sure I get the maximum amount of wear possible out of all of my woolly jumpers. Mind you, like as soon as we head into true cold weather, you know, late November until the beginning of April, I barely notice wool against my skin. But in weather like this, where it's in the teens most of the time, which what is that, like 60s, 70s Fahrenheit, I am often in a sweater, and then I, you know, work up a bit of a sweat as I walk places, just am a person about town, and then I'm a little bit uncomfortable. This is perfect for that, and then in the winter it'll be a nice extra insulating piece. So overall, I'm quite happy with the pieces I've finished recently. They just feel really practical, and I love things that are practical as well as fun, as well as beautiful, but I wish I had more to say. I'm a little sleepy today, sorry guys, but yeah. And I think I like this more, significantly more, as a little top yarn as opposed to what I originally got it for as a summer sock yarn. Yarns Untangled, which is one of my favorite yarn stores in Toronto, had a sale, and for a while this was 20% off, and I was so tempted to get more, to knit myself 2 more of these tops, but I didn't. Bought other stuff instead. So those are 3 of my finished objects. My 4th and final finished object is the pair of socks that I knit for my roommate's birthday. Birthday's the beginning of October. She loves rainbow. She loves socks. So I knit her rainbow socks. This is Hobie Happy Feet yarn in the color Circus. And then I used some leftover sisu in the color Lavender for the heels, because I don't like it when a self-striping or self-patterning sock goes into the heel most of the time. And this is a 64 stitch sock on a 2.25 needle. And I'm really happy with them. I think that they'll wear very well. I think that they're cute and colorful, and they're ever so slightly not perfectly aligned, which I think is fun. I think that adds to the charm. Other people might find that annoying, but I like it. And I think Sarah will too, my roommate. And yeah, so, I'm gonna add the tag and whatever, because I wanna be as transparent as possible. I did receive this yarn, the self-striping rainbow one, from Hobby for free in exchange for a review, which is on my channel. However, all my opinions are my own, but for transparency, like, I didn't pay for this yarn. My opinion of it is that it's fine. It's not my favorite sock yarn ever. I don't even think it's in like the top 3 or the top 5. But if they came out with another colorway that I really liked in it, I would buy it and knit with it again with my own money, especially since it's not a very expensive sock yarn, and Hobie does sales quite often. So if you just kind of wait for a while, what you're looking for will almost certainly go on sale again. Sisu Santa's yarn, great tragedy of my life that I'm a left-handed knitter and it is my enemy as a result of that, but otherwise it's like $6 or $7 a ball Canadian for 50 grams of Norwegian wool that comes in so many colors. And so if you're a normal knitter, I shouldn't say that, if you're a right-handed knitter, recommend the Sisu. If you're a left-handed knitter like me, avoid it at all costs. Now onto whips. This is a bit of a languishing whip. I have been working on the Marysia socks for so long now. I don't know why I haven't finished these yet, because they're so pretty. I love the yarn. I love the stitch pattern. It's fun to work. I am a sucker for a 3x1 rib, and this is just a fancier 3x1 rib with more detail. It's using up a lot of stash, and I think that I love this picot cuff. Like, there's no reason for me to not have finished this already. This is the actual existing blocked sock if you want to see a proper depiction. My words are not working so well today, and I'm sleepy. I'm just out of practice, I think. I did run out of the contrast color I was using and had to switch to another one, which I did expect to happen and think is kind of funny. There you go. But they're similar enough that unless I point it out, I don't think it's wildly obvious, especially when you think about how this is going to sit on the foot. Most people aren't going to see the bottom, they're just going to see the last few rows there. I keep thinking the camera's on this side, but it's on this side. Sorry about that. Yeah. This is a fun pattern. It's, I think, a good step up from a very vanilla sock. You can memorize it really quickly. You don't need to have anything in front of you to know what you're doing. It's really cute. It's effective. I think you can make it look really masculine if you wanted to. You can make it look really feminine if you wanted to. It's a chill sock. I've just kind of lost my sock mojo, which is great because I did spend all summer buying sock yarn using all my birthday gift cards, but that's just how it goes sometimes. And looking at this, I think I might just spend one day on it, power through the foot because I have small feet, and then have it be done and clear the needles. But I'm in this phase right now where I just don't want to really knit on a standard fingering weight sock. but there are a couple fingering weight sock projects that I'm really excited for, but these are my 2.25 needles, and I can't start those until I finish this one, but I'm not finishing this one because I don't want to. And so I'm just like having all these other, like I really wanted to do the Earth Tones Girl Falling Socks Knit Along, which started last week, and I haven't cast anything on for that. Well, I guess my mushroom socks might count, but I just like, I need to spend a day and a half and just bang these out, but I'm not doing that. Maybe I'll do that tonight. Maybe that'll be the project. That is whip number 1. They're pretty, they're fun, I'm just not doing them, and that's a personal problem. That's not a sock problem. But next, I have another 2 pairs of socks on the needles. These are both gifts. I am really trying to get a decent chunk of my gift knitting done before November. I said that last year and I was still panic knitting right up until every gift giving occasion that I had, but because I'm not super enthusiastic about knitting socks right now, and I have promised people socks, anytime I am feeling even a little bit enthusiastic about sock knitting, I run to my gift knitting socks as opposed to my selfish knitting socks, and so as a result, the Marysia socks have not received any attention from me in about 3.5 weeks. But in the meantime, I did start the Magic Toadstool socks for my brother, which I'm knitting in Yowal standard sock yarn for the blue and the red, which I think are like denim and coral or something. And then I'm using some Sisu Sadness yarn left over from Blooming Lavender socks. I knit another Sarah in my life last winter, and this is my first time doing 3-color work. And I'm not doing a very good job of it, mostly because of color dominance issues. The Sisu Sadness yarn, the Sadness yarn Sisu, Sadness yarn is the brand, Sisu is the base. If I pull these aside, can you see how much thicker that white yarn looks in comparison to the blue and the red? So the white one is the Sisu and the other 2 are the Yowal. And because it is so much rounder and plumper and thicker, I held the, where can you see better? On this side. I was holding that towards the back and putting the red first, the blue second, and the white last, so that the white was the least. I'm struggling to describe color dominance and color work. When you're knitting color work, if you're not already familiar with this, you want to keep the color you want to move the most, to be the brightest, to be the most forward in your knitting, closest to you. And then the color that you want to kind of fade into the background, you hold behind. So that when you're crossing your yarns and you're moving forward and all these things, it's a little bit, I mean, if you have perfect tension, this is a minimal issue, but with color work, 3-color work, I don't have perfect tension. So I was thinking, because there seems to be a difference in the size of the yarns, I'll keep the one that's already going to be the biggest with the roundest yarn towards the back, and then knit the other 2 in the front. And instead, I think that was a miscalculation, because the little dots on the toadstools, you can kind of barely see. So that has been a very interesting or very important lesson for me when it comes to 3-color work, and it also hasn't gotten very far. I did most of this last night, but I'm thinking maybe blocking will help, and if not, I'm just going to go in with a little needle afterwards and wiggle out all of the white stitches so they pop a little bit more, because I think that makes them cute. But yes, these are the Magic Toadstool socks by Stone Knits, whose real name is Charlotte Stone, one of my favorite sock designers. I already knit a pair of these for myself, and then my brother FaceTimed me while I was knitting on them, and he said, would you knit me an identical pair of socks? And I said yes, and here they are, except obviously his are bigger. So yeah, I have been really, despite my current issues I'm facing with color dominance in colorwork socks, I am really enjoying knitting colorwork socks again. I love a neutral garment and a aggressively colorful, fun, whimsical sock. And I think this might be one of the antidotes to my sock mojo issue. Maybe I just focus on colorwork socks for a little bit, or a DK weight sock, which is the other pair of socks I have on the needles right now for my grandfather. However, the colorwork portion of these is really small, and so once those are done and it's just a stockinette and the round sock on 72 stitches per round, that's going to be a slog for me to get through. But I love my brother, so I'll do it, and I have plenty of time. What else do I have to say about this? I was thinking about this being an entry into the Falling Leaves sock knit along hosted by the Earth Tones girl, because I was thinking, what's more autumnal than a mushroom? But reading the fine print, I think it might be all about autumn colors as opposed to autumn themes. I don't know. And these don't feel like super autumnal colors. But the other thing, so I've been waiting ages to cast on the acorn socks by Amanita Knits in yarn I got from my mother for Christmas in the color Cabernet, which is stunning. It's this gorgeous dark red that is almost too precious to use kind of color, because I wanted it to be like a welcome fall cast on, and it certainly is autumn now. And the acorn socks, like the acorn motif plus the dark red yarn, feel like a match made in heaven, especially for this falling leaves sock along. But my yarn and my needles are being held up by the Marysia socks that I still haven't finished. So I guess in the meantime, this is my Falling Leaves sock knit along entry. My goal is to have this finished by the end of October, which I know is it's barely a goal. That's the plan, I guess, is a better thing. Because like if I can't finish a pair of socks in 2 months, then maybe I really need to reevaluate whether or not socks are a good gift idea for me if my current knitting energy is not at all interested in that, but we'll see. The other sock, which I have been very interested in knitting, is this one, which is a DK weight sock that I am knitting in West Yorkshire Spinners Air Valley DK, which is a DK non-superwash, 75% wool, 25% nylon blend. I don't remember the color names because I bought this a year ago, but I'm pretty sure if you were to look online, I got mine from Webs, which is the URL yarn.com, and I'm sure if you look, you'd very easily be able to identify which is which, because they don't have a ton of colors that I saw, and these are pretty identifiable. It's a basic gray and then a psychedelic rainbow. But my grandfather loves knit socks. He loves wool. His family is from the United Kingdom, so West Yorkshire Spinners wool socks are a pretty perfect fit. And I knit him a pair of socks in these same 2 yarns last year, except they were flipped. Heels, toes, and cuffs were in this rainbow, and then the rest was in the gray. And he loves them. He keeps them around. Like, they either sit on his desk or next to his chair at all times. He makes people look at them when they come in. Routinely, his emails to me include another thanks for the socks, like a PS, I still love my socks. And so it only makes sense to knit him another pair this year. My plan is to knit as close to an identical pair as the first one to the first pair as possible, because he says that the fit is perfect, no notes. And to the best of my knowledge, and having to rewatch my video from last year when I talked about these, it's a 3x1 sock on a 68 stitch circumference for the leg going down the front. The back is plain stockinette. And then we're going to carry that rib down the front of the sock, because my grandfather has very swollen, very swollen calves and ankles, and he needs something with a lot of stretch, but that's not going to dig in at any point. And then I will probably decrease to like around a 56 in the foot, and he will have warm feet and hopefully a warm heart. So that is the plan. The reason why I have gone with such a wild color is because his mother, my great-grandmother, who was a prolific sock knitter, and I'm sort of named for her in my middle name. I'm named in honor of her. It's a long story. knit psychedelic socks. He specifically called psychedelic socks. Apparently back then there was a lot of 100% nylon yarn out there, which is why he kept saying, is this wool? And I kept saying, yeah. He goes, really? And I said, yeah. And he says, because nylon socks are not super comfortable. And I said, yeah, I believe you. Which meant that she was able to knit pretty interesting color socks, because, you know, dyeing on nylon is pretty straightforward. I'm saying these things like I know anything. I don't. I wasn't around. I didn't knit with 100% nylon. Psychedelic socks in honor of my great-grandmother Kathleen, in honor of my grandfather's mother, and to maybe, you know, invoke the same thing. I'm sad I couldn't get to meet her, but she died long before I was born. So yeah, I'm almost done the heel. I have like 2 more rows before the heel turn, and then hopefully this will be done relatively soon. I don't know why this isn't bugging me to knit the same way my socks and my brother's socks are. Actually, my brother's socks aren't bugging me to knit because I really like the color work. But my socks, I think it's because this is a DK weight. But otherwise, it's like another 3x1 rib sock, just like the Marysia. So like, what's the holdup? I don't know why this has become such a thing in my head. I just don't want to knit them. I want the socks. But, yeah. All right, next work in progress. This is the Aosta cushion by Sophie Hemmings, aka the Knit Pearl Girl. This is done in all over Andalusian stitch, which is a 4-row repeat of knits and purls. It's very straightforward, fun, and effective, and I think will make a very good squishy pillow, because we have a pillow downstairs that really needs some sort of cover, because 1, we're going to get food on it, it's only a matter of time, and 2, it's really kind of, it's not a very fun pillow, it's not plump, it's not plush, it's not very cuddly, and so I'm knitting this to accommodate for that, because I received a cone of fluorescent pink yarn, lace weight, from a neighbor back in May or June, and I think this would really fit nicely with our decor downstairs. So this is a pattern that's meant to be knit on 7mm needles, like a 10.5, is that what that is? I don't know. And it's meant to be like a really chunky pillow, however, I'm knitting this on 5.5mm needles, which is a US 9, in order to, and then going 1 size up from the pillow. Because it's a pillow, it doesn't need to be super precise, and negative ease is kind of encouraged. Because I really wanted to use this yarn, and I'm currently holding it quadrupled. I have it coming out of the front and the back of this ball, 1 out of this ball, and then also the leftovers from the cone. I'm very happy with the fabric that this is creating. It's been a really fun knit for when I want some like cool down time, or while I've been doing the heel flap of my grandfather's socks light meeting knitting. And I'm thinking I will be done by the end of the week. And then we will have a nice cuddly, cozy pillow. I will have this yarn out of stash, and I will have something bright to look at during winter. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, a win-win-win situation. It's not taking me very long, really. I started this last week, and it's been thoroughly enjoyable. I just really like the Knit Pearl Girls patterns. So I got this pattern for free because I test knit the crescendo blouse for her, which was a DK weight lace yoke, like a diamond pattern sweater, back in November to, I guess, January, earlier this year / last year. And in return, not only did she send us all the finalized pattern of the crescendo blouse, which I think is pretty standard operating procedure when you test knit for someone, but she also gifted all the testers 3 free patterns from her collection. And so I had that just kind of waiting to use. And then I needed a pillow, and so I used that for this. Otherwise, this is not a very expensive pattern at all. I think it's like £3, which was $4.60 Canadian or something. But that is $4.60 Canadian I didn't have to spend, and I feel a lot of get goodwill towards Sophie and would recommend testing for her. A, because she runs a good test, in my opinion, and takes pattern writing very seriously and is size inclusive, and I just like her design aesthetic. But also, obviously, a lot of people don't have the means, the resources, or even just like the amount of published patterns to give someone 3 patterns in exchange for testing. For example, like I'm literally testing the Cargill, which is Rebecca's first pattern. Like she wouldn't be able to give us 3 of her other patterns. They don't exist. And I'm not trying to say that everyone should or has to do that, but it made me actually feel appreciated as a tester. And in a way, it's good marketing, because that way other people are going to knit your stuff and then they're going to show your stuff, and then it just kind of feels like good business sense a little bit. But as a result of knitting this, I'm also probably going to knit the Aosta baby sweater for a baby that I know, or will know. Doesn't exist yet. He's incubating. But because I really enjoy the Andalusian stitch. And also the Pippin sweater by the Knit Pro Girl. So I'm imagining that the next 2 or 3 episodes are going to be very Sophie Hemmings and petite knit heavy in terms of projects, because I've just got a lot on the needles or planned that are their designs. But I do recommend this. It's really, really straightforward. It's really easy. The only tricky bit is you start with the Judy's Magic cast on down here, which I honestly don't think is that difficult. I think if you've ever learned the old Norwegian/German twisted cast on, it's not going to be difficult. It just feels like a more complicated cousin of the long tail. And if you're used to that, or the old Norwegian, I think you'll manage Judy's just fine. I also think that learning on a pillow before you tackle the most common way that you have to deal with the Judy's Magic cast on being toe-up socks, then it's just easier to learn on a chunkier weight of yarn. All right, my next and second last whip is honestly kind of a surprise. This is a pretty spontaneous thing. It is a Cumulus blouse by Petite Knit that I'm knitting in Noro Kakigori in the color Fukuyama. So let me get sorted, and here it is. Nope. Here it is. I literally just separated for sleeves. Like I haven't even knit the newly cast on sleeves at the underarm yet. It is freshly separated. And I'm knitting this in kind of in between an extra small and a small, because I've seen a lot of people recommend sizing down for this pattern, and I would otherwise knit a small. And also because I'm really playing yarn chicken with it, and that just seemed like going down a size seemed to make it easier, but it's pretty easy to kind of personalize the stitch counts for this, because it's a raglan. It's a pretty straightforward raglan, and all I did was I cast on the stitch count for an extra small and then just increased like a little bit more, but not quite to the stitch counts for the small, and then I separated for the sleeves. I'm really, really happy with this fabric. I think the color is delightful. I think the yarn is really fun to work with. It's very smooth, it's very pleasant. It is 50% silk, 30% cotton, 20% viscose, and 20% polyamide, and it's very much a summer yarn, and it's very autumnal here, and autumn is like the forefront of my mind because I'm trying to lean into seasonality to mark the passage of time and appreciate things more. But I'm visiting my father in a warm climate next month, and so that has extended my summer knitting a little bit, and I would really like this kind of blouse for that transitional weather. I also think that it's a blouse, so I would tuck it into long jeans anyway, and it would still be extended past summer. And summer garments are the most needed in my wardrobe still, despite my summer knitting frenzy, especially slightly more dressed up ones. And so the Cumulus tee checks a lot of boxes. I'm going to be honest with you. If 3 specific things had not happened all at once, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I would not have purchased this yarn. But number 1, Yarns Untangled had a sale, and this was on sale, and otherwise this is a very expensive yarn. I mean, it still was. I paid like either $40 or $44 for 200 grams, and that seems like a lot of money, and it is, but for 200 grams, like $20 or $22 for 100 grams is not wildly outside the realm of possibility. Like, it's less than the knitting for olive. Actually, no, it's about the same as the knitting for olive, but it's just kind of a lot to pay all but once for a ball, but I only need one ball for this garment. But 1, Yarns and Tangle had a sale. 2, what is his first name? Mr. Noro, Master Noro. Isaku Noro, the founder of Noro Yarns, passed away, and I was reading all of the tribute posts to him, talking about how he was a visionary at the time and his ethos behind Noro Yarns, and it made me think, oh, I didn't know any of that. That's really, really cool, and the kinds of things that I value, which made me appreciate Noro Yarns more. And 3, something stressful was going on, and I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but it was I was emotional, and I saw pretty bright colors, and I wanted them, and I just wanted to, like on a very primal level, to look at bright things and feel joy. So I bought this, and I cast on pretty quickly afterwards a Cumulus blouse, and it's been making me happy, and I don't regret that. I do think I will wear it. I have really been enjoying the process of working with it. This thick and thin multicolored yarn, it's been very enjoyable. I went down a needle size. I'm knitting this on a 4mm needle. I started with a 4.5, and I thought that the tension was a little awkward. So I went down because it was the very back of my neck and no one was going to see, especially since like it's a v-neck, so there weren't any stitches here. So the only part that was kind of wonky was like literally the first inch of the back of my neck. Who's gonna know? Who's gonna see that? No one. So I just went down a needle size. I didn't bother ripping back. And in order to make this as wearable as possible, I chose as plain a garment as possible, an all stockinette blouse with I-cord bind-offs everywhere, no ribbing, no texture, no nothing, in order to really just let this yarn sing and make it a basic garment so I will feel more like, oh yeah, I can wear that. Either way, this has been taking up a fair amount of my knitting attention recently because a plain stockinette raglan, I only recently started knitting in the round. Even knitting back and forth was really good, even if it aggravated my elbows a little bit. And I've been enjoying this. It's been good. And I'm hoping to get this done before my trip to go visit my papa, so I can wear it then. My last work in progress is the crochet afghan. The throw. I have been connecting squares. I have started connecting them horizontally, not vertically, so it's kind of a pain to hold up and show. But it's kind of looking something like this right now. I'm expecting this to be roughly throw sized. We might make it to the size of a twin blanket. We'll see. I am in the process of joining the last 2 rows of granny squares, and then I will start connecting the columns like this. Nope, that's the back. Like this. And I'm using a single crochet join, which doesn't, in my opinion, leave a very nice edge finish on the back. Like, you have these very visible edges, which I feel kind of meh about, but I do like that it's adding just a little bit more length to the joins, and I like this texture it's creating on the front, and that is enough for me. Once I do that, I still have a fair amount of the main color yarn and a fair amount of the central accent color yarn left over, and I'm just going to start crocheting around the border until I run out, basically. So the yarn I'm using for the main color is Hayfield Baby Chunky in the color Cream, and it might be 100% acrylic, but I think it's 20% wool, 80% acrylic. I got it from Wool Time here in Ottawa a year and a half ago. However, it has been discontinued. It was discontinued then too, so this is really, like, I have no more else to work with, but I have very little joining left, and then I'm just going to do a scallop edge border until I run out, and I think that'll be nice. It'll be cozy. I think these don't match, but I do think that they will complement each other quite well in our living room and add a good sense of cozy brightness, which is critical in a dark climate. And if I am not done this, like done it, like border attached, ends woven, whole 9 yards by the end of October, I request that you yell at me in the comment section. Because I started this in February of 2021, maybe even January of 2021, and it needs to be set free. It needs to be allowed out into the world in its true form, which is a finished starburst granny square afghan. I also followed a free tutorial, which will be linked down below for this. The central color, I don't think is discontinued. This is Hayfield Spirit Chunky in the color Sundown. It's a variegated yarn, which I think has been a very fun choice for a granny square afghan. I really like this. I really like the look of it. I just am not called to crochet the same way I am called to knit, and therefore this has been sadly neglected. And those are all my finished and active projects. As you can tell, maybe I've been in a bit of a nesting mode with the changing of the seasons, preparing to spend a lot more time indoors. But I'm really excited to have the pillow and the blanket done. Oh, another thing about the pillow is that because I got the yarn for free from a neighbor, and because I got the pattern for free in exchange for being a tester, which I guess is technically like more in exchange for my labor, but whatever, that project is technically costing me $0, which is nice. It's very nice because this can quickly become an expensive hobby. And I've gone a little nuts this summer buying yarn, so it's nice to kind of return to like budget focus. With that in mind, we turn to acquisitions. So along with the Noro yarn that I bought, I got this Lang Super Socks, which was on sale for like $11, maybe $14, something like that. It is a 75-25 blend. This is before I realized that my sock mojo was kind of gone. I just saw these colors and I thought that would be really, really nice. Probably for me, maybe for my mom. I don't know if she wants more knit socks. But it's soft, it's pretty, it's neutral, it's self-patterning, but in a really mild way that I don't think it would bug me to have it on the heel. And I'm looking forward to eventually knitting a pair of socks with this. Very, very interestingly, I was admiring my yarn after it arrived, and I saw a QR code that said trace your yarn. So I thought, okay, and I took out my phone and I took a photo, and I put in this information here when prompted, and then it told me where this yarn was, the sheep for this yarn were raised, who sheared them, what breed of sheep it was, where it was milled, where it was carded, where it was dyed, all of those things. Like when they said trace your yarn, they were not kidding. So they used Coriadale for this, that was grown in Peru. And it was also carded and sorted in Peru, and then I think it was spun in Italy and be dyed there too. I don't know. I'll have a screen recording of it up. But I was very, very, very impressed by that. I love having that kind of information, and it made me happy to see, and I think that's really, really cool that Lang is doing that. So kudos to Lang. And oh, it was made in Italy. Yeah. Very, very fun. Oh my goodness, I think I forgot one of the most exciting things. Okay, so a few weeks ago, Charlotte Stone, designer of the Toadstool socks that I'm knitting my brother, messaged me on Instagram asking if I would be willing to receive a copy of her book that is just published this week, Charming Colorwork Socks. And I said yes so fast. She said, hey, I would like to send it to you. You could talk about it on your podcast or on your social media if you wanted to. No pressure. Would you be interested? And I said yes so fast. I texted my mom about it because I was so excited. I texted my dad, texted my friends, because I've knit Charlotte Stone socks for my friends before. I've knit them for myself, and they're always, because they're so graphic and whimsical and colorwork, they stand out. And so it's very often the type of socks my friends will like comment on when they see me wearing them or knitting them. And I received it. It came in the mail. And yeah, this is the worst time for my sock mojo to have disappeared into the ether, because these socks are just stunning. There are so many that I would like to knit, and I'm thinking, because I've been really enjoying the colorwork portion of the Magic Toadstool socks by the same designer, that maybe the cure for my sock malaise is colorwork socks. I think I need to start with this pair, which are sheep, and I'm a knitter. I'm a knitter who knits with wool, and technically Rachel, the name Rachel, my name, means you, like E-W-E, like E-W-E, like a female sheep. I think I need sheep socks. Other absolute stunners, I mean, they're all really nice. I also really like the coffee break socks. I drink coffee. I don't have any brown sock yarn though. I'm also, I mean, it would be kind of silly of me to knit these ones, but the holly and ivy socks, magical. And I have, except for the cream base, I have the accent color yarns I would need. Halloween, like, I really go nuts sometimes with colorwork socks because I mean, these are, I think, ones that everybody's already seen online, but the eggs for Easter socks, like, come on, you know, like, how am I not gonna knit those? The vitamin C socks. So yeah, I've also been reading the part at the beginning where there are tips and tricks on knitting colorwork socks, and she has a tip about float catching and when to catch floats in order to make your socks as wearable as possible, which I have incorporated into my Magic Toadstool socks because I think it'll even out my tension, and I'm sad that I didn't know about this before. But it has 25 different patterns in it. Only one I think has been published before, and even then she's updated the sizing and the fit and stuff like that. And I was going to buy this book anyway. I'm probably going to ask for it as a gift later on because I have so many sock patterns as it is. So I truly, my sincerest thank you to Charlotte, because I don't know, it's just so nuts that someone was like, oh, I'll send this to you. Which I guess is really thanks to you guys. Because, I mean, that's how PR works. Like, if I didn't have an audience, no one would care. But yeah, you know what, maybe what I might do, I will tell myself, if you finish the Marysia socks, you can cast on the sheep socks. And you want the sheep socks, don't you, Rachel? I do. And it'll only take me a day and a half to finish the socks, unless my elbows are really, really bugging me. So maybe rough order of operations for the next, 2 weeks is finish the pillow, finish the Marysia socks, finish my grandfather's sock, and once those things happen, finish horizontally joining crochet squares, and once those things happen, I can knit myself some sheep socks. I think all over colorwork is my antidote. So we'll see if I get there. I think also with the sheep socks, I really like the green background of the sheep socks. I cannot deny it, but I feel like this is a really good opportunity for a variegated sock yarn to be used to really make it dreamy, not just a field of sheep, but counting sheep, dreamland kind of thing. I don't like being alienated from sock knitting. It has so long been my comfort. My next acquisition, so my friends came up last weekend from Montreal to visit Ottawa, so I could show them around a little bit. One of my friends went to Scotland over the summer and had a wonderful time and very much made me want to go, but they spent a lot of time out in, I think, the Highlands and in more rural parts of Scotland hiking, because my friend and her partner, that's what they're into. And they stayed at a bed and breakfast. I wish I knew what it was called so I could tell you guys about it, but she was very excited. And the wife of the couple, actually, why am I assuming that they're married? The woman raises sheep and has the yarns, the wool spun and creates yarn and sells it. And so my friend got me this hank as a souvenir from her trip. And the woman was telling her all about the yarn production, and she told my friend the name of the sheep that this came from, and my friend was very sad that she forgot. But this is completely undyed natural yarn from Island at the Edge yarn from the Isle of Skye. And it is 100 grams of 5-ply DK yarn, which is approximately 230 meters. Hebridean Isles Trading Company. It's worsted spun. My friend was very excited to learn about the difference between worsted and wool, and she was like, worsted is not a weight of yarn, it's a type of yarn. And I was like, this is woolen. And it is Cheviot and Blackface. And it is the natural color. And I'm so grateful to my friend to have gotten this for me. It is too scratchy for me to wear. You know what? It's like scratchy, but it's also not. Like, this is not soft, but I have this against my skin, and it's really, like, there's a prickle, but there's no itch. I don't know how to really describe it, but if you want to get some for yourself, it's islandattheedge.co.uk, and I think this is maybe going to go into something color work for me to make it shine. Yeah. We're so lucky to have sheep. Those are my acquisitions. Oh, that's not true. Those are most of my acquisitions, but when my friends came up from Montreal, one of my friends also knits. She's been knitting longer, but she's not as an obsessive personality as I am. So she came up and she was like, oh, here's the yarn that you gave me last year to knit a pumpkin. And I was like, oh, you could have kept it. And she was like, no, I need to give it back to you. And I was like, oh, yay, great, thanks for the yarn back. So I think this will be a little pumpkin. She knit a little pumpkin out of it. I'm probably going to knit a little pumpkin out of it too, if I get around to it. Like I said, once it goes into the stash, who knows. But she also got me these two 100% acrylic yarns from Michaels. I don't have the label, so I don't know exactly what brand, but it's a very soft baby acrylic, and I think a DK, that my friend made mittens with many years ago. Because of our friend who's having a baby, these are baby yarns, and this one is 88 grams, and this one, this one is 88 grams, and this one is 66 grams, and we were talking about knitting for the baby, and she was like, oh, well, if you want to knit the baby a sweater, like, maybe you could use these yarns, aka, like, please get them out of my house. And so now I have these. I went thrifting with my friends this weekend, and I ended up thrifting some yarn, which I will show you in the next episode because it's currently down in the freezer, because I am not bringing moths into this household. No siree, Bob. And one of the yarns that I got is it looks like basically the same type of yarn, but in a nice blue, which would jazz this up really nicely. So this is going to be a stripy baby raglan, and I'm hoping to use every inch of it up, so I'm thinking it'll maybe be for like a 1-year size. I've been looking at yardage for striped sweaters for children, for the wee ones, and I think it'll be good for a 1-year-old size. I've been asking my mom, because my grandmother knit a ton of mine and my brother's clothing when we were little babies. I've been asking my mom, like, what's good for a baby? Like, you as a mother, what do you find to be useful or tedious or impractical for clothing for your children? So hopefully I will do a good job of it and make it an actually wearable garment for the baby and for his parents. So I have this as an acquisition. I'm hoping that it will not stay in my possession very long because A, the baby's due in January, B, he needs a sweater, C, I need to knit a bigger sweater because he's already in the 90th percentile in terms of weight as a little fetus. So big sweater. And that's that on that. But last but not least, I got this issue of Pom Pom magazine. It is the Terrain issue. Yeah, Terrain, Winter 2019. I talked about 2 of the sweaters in this, including this cover sweater, which is the Saltings sweater by Sarah Solomon, in my most recent video, which is sweaters I'm obsessed with right now. And there are several things about this issue that appealed to me. Another one is this pair of colorwork textured socks. These are the Terraform socks. And I think, again, this was on sale at Yarns Untangled. I think those would be really fun for me, but I feel like they would really suit my brother. He likes funky socks and interesting accessories, and I think that sock really fits the bill. There's also a hat pattern in here that I already had favorited. And like I said, I need hats. It is the Alatu sock. This is what it looks like. Not sock, hat. I think that'll be really neat. I could also knit that for Nathan, my boyfriend, or for me, or for both of us. Actually, his head is significantly larger than mine. That would not work. But I'm excited for the patterns in this. 2 sweaters I really like, 3 accessories I really like. I think gives me interesting options for gifts and palette cleansers when I get tired of stockinette. And overall, I'm pleased. I have purchased more yarn that has not arrived yet. I used up a gift card from a giveaway that I won last year to Shop La Mercerie to ship some yarn to my father, who's also based in the States, to knit the Pippin sweater probably, or maybe a cardigan. I think I have to see the yarn and maybe knit a swatch before I really commit to a project for it. And I'll have that to show in the next episode. I am sorry about how rocky this one has been. Things have been hectic here, and I think I'm a little bit out of practice with podcasting, but I gotta go. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. We'll talk again soon. Bye.